We're not talking about actors. We mean a real monster.
I brought her back. She'll live and I'll get her another body.
I know they're gonna kiss me, but don't let anyone see me like that. Please, Doctor, help me!
Biologically speaking, it's of primary importance that man should want to mate. Hey, that's...
You don't get all your kicks from surfing, do you?
We want to be free to ride our machines without being hassled by the man. And we want to get loaded.
You think you're gonna make a slave of the world? I'll see you in hell first!
The American International Podcast.
Are you ready?
Thanks for joining us for this special anniversary edition of the American International Podcast. I'm Jeff Markin.
And I'm Cheryl Lightfoot. And this is a very special episode of our podcast because today, the day that this episode drops, is the first anniversary of our podcast. Coincidentally, no, not really, we planned it that way. It's also the 70th anniversary of the formation of the American Releasing Corporation, which would shortly become American International Pictures. So we thought we'd take a look behind us at our first 54 episodes and a look ahead to the future of the podcast.
For the most part, the movies we watch for this podcast are chosen randomly by letting the shuffle feature on our Plex server select the next movie we will be focusing on. But we also allow ourselves to choose a film from time to time. For the first episode, we selected The Fast and the Furious, the first movie released by ARC. And for our anniversary episode, we selected the last movie that could be called an AIP production, Dressed to Kill.
Jeff, I think you'll agree with me that we've been surprised both pleasantly and otherwise by the films we've gotten to watch. I think we saw a lot of movies that we never would have chosen that turned out to be really fun, really good, or both. I think you'll agree that we were both pleasantly surprised by Macon County Line after not expecting too much from a Hicksploitation film. Of course, there were some stinkers too, but that's true of the films we chose ourselves. Food of the Gods. I know you liked it, but...
Of course, while you and I have similar tastes, we haven't always agreed when giving the final ratings on the film after we watched it for the podcast. Over the past 54 episodes, we've disagreed on 14 of them. Most drastically on Food of the Gods, which I loved and Cheryl definitely did not.
Sorry. But I gave the most pathetic ratings. I gave 9 to Jeff's 5.
But that does leave us with an almost 80% agreement rate, and for the most part, we liked the films we watched. We've agreed 19 times that the movies were awesome. 16 films got an intermediate rating, and a mere 5 were rated with a P for pathetic.
I think that's pretty good. Now, we've covered nearly every of AIP's subgenres, except for documentaries. We haven't done one of those yet. Keeping in mind that some of our films could be counted in more than one category, looking back, making tallies, I found that 16 of our episodes were horror movies, 8 were sci-fi, and another 8 were teen-sploitation movies. 5 were either musicals or concert films, and 4 were action films. There were also 10 movies that couldn't be categorized into any specific subgenre, like westerns or war movies or blaxploitation films. And those include movies like Bunny O'Hare, A Matter of Time, and Crime and Passion.
Vincent Price starred or appeared in more movies reviewed by this podcast than any other actor. He was in 7 films we watched.
And even though it feels like we've done a ton of Frankie Avalon movies, and it really does, we really only did 5. That's the same number of Dick Miller films we reviewed.
But we'll have more chances to watch films from both of them in the future.
Yay for Dick Miller, but not so much for Frankie Avalon. Of the actresses, we don't have anyone who's up at the same level as Vincent Price. Barbara Morris has been in 4 films for this podcast, and that's double the number of any other actress.
Probably not surprisingly, Roger Corman is the director featured in most of our movies with 8 films. Lou Rusoff, Abel Candel, and Herman Cohen have also been featured multiple times.
That's in various roles. They're not just directors, but sometimes writers or producers. AIP launched in the mid-50s in 1954, and they closed up shop in 1980 by selling themselves to Filmways. So unsurprisingly, most of the movies we've covered have been from the 1960s and the 1970s. There's 26 from 1960s and 18 films from the 1970s. 11 were from the 50s, and our Dressed to Kill episode that kicks off our second season was released in 1980. So by my count, thus far, we've reviewed a movie from every year AIP was operational, except for 1955 and 1975, but I imagine we'll get a film from those years soon.
And of those films in the 70s, I want to mention that we hit quite a few in 1976 during this first year.
Really? How many, do you know?
I don't know off the top of my head, but I know we had Food of the Gods was 1976, A Matter of Time, Crime and Passion, Future World, and The Town That Dreaded Sundown.
Oh, wow. That was a busy year for them.
And maybe even more I'm not even thinking of right now.
And speaking of our second season, AIP put out a lot of films, like hundreds. So we have a lot of awesome, intermediate, and pathetic films in our future.
Not only that, but we'll be looking beyond the big screen into some of AIP's television-only releases, as well as some other films that are definitely AIP related. For example, in this summer, we have scheduled to take a look at a series of AITV releases, and as we're going to our second year, we'll be adding releases from Hallmark, which was distributed by AIP, giving us access to movies like Mark of the Devil, The Last House on the Left, and Don't Go in the Basement. Trans-American Films, one of AIP's subsidiaries, with films like It's a Bikini World, The Cycle Savages, and They Came From Within, and United Producers, with films like The Dirtiest Girl I Ever Met, Prison Girls, and The Last Survivor, aka The Last Cannibal World, aka Jungle Holocaust.
Wow, I don't know if I'm scared or excited about these coming titles. So I want to talk about our favorite films so far. I sat down and thought about it and came up with 4 favorites, which I can never pick one favorite of anything. I think my favorites were Bucket of Blood, Blackula, It Conquered the World, and Coffee. What about you, Jeff? She had to pick a handful.
I don't know if I could pick my favorites, but I could pick ones that just intrigue me. One of the films that's really stuck with me is Bunny O'Hare. I gave that an I rating, but I really, really like that movie, and it's one of the ones that I maybe regret giving it an I because I enjoy it so much. And another one that I gave an I to and regret that rating is Youngblood.
Oh, yeah, that was really good.
So I don't know if I'm picking favorites so much as
having regrets.
Having regrets, yeah.
Well, we all do that. I'm sure I underrated and overrated some movies too. All right, what about the worst movie that we saw? I think we both have the same answer for the very worst. Want to do it 1, 2, 3?
House of $1,000.
No, let's not do it then. All right, well, so we don't agree on what was the worst movie. For me, it was Crime and Passion. That movie was god-awful.
For me, it was House of $1,000, hands down.
I don't know if I would do that because Vincent Price was in it, but it really was so much worse than I was expecting.
Well, I can tell you that I can see me watching Crime and Passion again.
Really?
But I will never watch House of $1,000 again.
Wow, that surprises me. I wouldn't watch Crime of Passion if you put a gun to my head. I didn't like A Matter of Time either, which was really disappointing for me because Ingrid Bergman was in it and I really love her, but it was a stinker all the way around.
A Matter of Time was a disappointment for me as well because I really wanted to like it. And as such, it's probably one that I might try to give a watch again, but not anytime soon. And one of the biggest disappointments, I think, for me was Sergeant Deadhead, which I wasn't expecting to be great, but I really didn't expect it to be as bad as it was.
That's true. It was so dopey. For me, Crime and Passion was the worst because the plot made no sense. Every character was the worst person you could ever wish to see on screen or not wish. And Frankenstein never showed up to save the movie. Its alternate title was Frankenstein's Spookschloss.
Well, to give my reasons for House of $1,000, sure, it's got Vincent Price and he's great in it, but he's the only great thing in a very, very poor and very, very dull movie. And even that's not enough to elevate it to watchable status for me.
George Nader was in that too, and I think he's really high up on my list of actors I never want to see again. He was in The Million Eyes of Sumeru and this movie, and he's so smarmy and smug, and I just want to hit him. His character, not him. So, Jeff, why don't we look ahead to the future of the podcast? What do you want out of it?
Well, there's certainly some films that I've seen before that I'm looking forward to watching again and talking about. I'm even looking more forward to films that I haven't seen yet, but have been on my watch list for quite some time. When it's my turn to pick a film, I usually will pick one of these, something I hadn't seen, and just hoping it's good. That's how we came to watch Goliath and the Dragon, and we will be watching Trunk to Cairo in an upcoming episode.
I'm also looking forward to covering more of those sword and sandals flicks. We did 2 of them, actually, and Goliath and the Dragon was clearly better than Samson and the Slave Queen, but they were both really fun. They're so goofy and silly. They're overdubbed, so they could be saying anything, but they really put themselves all into this movie. They commit to it, and it's fun to watch. But there's more subgenres that I'd like to cover. We've already done some blaxploitation genres, but that's one of my favorites, and I hope we put more of those on our schedule soon, like Black Caesar or The Mac or Slaughter. They all look great. And one reason I really like this subgenre is because it features great music. The soundtracks are killer. Some of our movies that we have to watch, the music is just dreadful. Remember Operation Bikini, where they had Frankie Avalon sing 2 songs? No, not 2 songs, the same song twice. and it was awful both times. But blaxploitation films, you are never sorry to hear the music. I want more of that. And we get more Pam Grier movies that way too.
Well, I probably should be embarrassed to admit this, but I always enjoyed the beach movies. And I'm kind of surprised that we've only hit upon one of them so far in our first year.
Right.
So I'm looking forward to looking at a couple of those more in depth in the years to come.
I know we have one planned soon. So yeah, you're right. Those are fun. And they actually do have better music than a lot of the other movies. Not as good as the blaxploitation movies, but still very good. I'm looking forward to more teen rebel films. Some of the films I'm looking forward to are Runaway Daughters, The Cool and the Crazy, High School Hellcats. Those movies are short and to the point usually, and they have female-heavy casts. And that's what makes them worth watching for me. I like the rubber monster movies, goofy sci-fi, especially the early ones. I want to see Invasion of the Saucermen, Attack of the Pumpkin People, and The Beast with a Million Eyes. Even though I might be disappointed, I still want to see that. And hope we get to more of the Corman Price post-cycle films. Do we have any of those planned? Do you know?
I don't think we do at the moment, but it's interesting you mentioned that because we've only hit one of those in the first year as well.
Right. And with all the Roger Corman films we've done, it's surprising that we've got only one. But we did do The Terror, which is sort of his attempt to make a Poe movie. One other thing I would really like to do is interact with more fans of the podcast. If you're listening to this, we'd love to hear from you. Our Dress to Kill episode was our first guest episode. But if anyone else would like to be a part of this, hit us up in our DMs. We also have a website coming up, right?
Yes, by the time this drops, we should have launched AIPpod.com. I've been working on it for weeks.
Very hard.
And right now, it's just a good place to listen to the podcast. But as it grows, I'm hoping it will become the place on the internet for information on American International Pictures. And while you're hitting us up on our DMs, I'd like to put it out there that there are films that we're still looking for to talk about on the podcast. There are a few films that we have found in the foreign language prints, but we would love to find the AIP dubs if possible. These include Prisoner of the Iron Mask, White Slave Ship, Conquered City, The Great Spy Chase, 24-Hour Lover, Torpedo Bay, and Cervantes. Some of these we at least have English subtitles for, but many of these we don't even have that. So if we wind up talking about them, we're just going to have to take our best guess at what's going on. And there are also some lost films, like Navajo Run and Wedding Night, that if anybody has a line on locating any of these, we would really appreciate it.
Even if it's just a with like 35 millimeter cut, even if it's just the film, we can get that dubbed. So anything would be helpful. Any clues? I'd love to hear from you.
Yes, any format, VHS, beta, 16, 35 millimeter, whatever. We'll make it work.
Shadows on the wall, cave paintings. So I think all in all, we have a lot to look forward to. And maybe the future is going to hold more war movies, Westerns, but hopefully we get a bucket full of beach movies too. I think with AIP's catalog, the occasional dud film is to be expected, but even those, like the rest of AIP's catalog, they're worth the watch. Except for Crime and Passion. Somebody needs to burn every print of that film.
So Cheryl, using our AIP scale, where A is awesome, I is intermediate, and P is pathetic, how would you rate your experience on the American International podcast?
Pathetic. No, I'm kidding. It's been awesome. I really like watching these movies. I like researching them, and I like talking about them. So for me, it's been a joy to do this. How would you rate it, Jeff?
I would agree. There are times it's a lot of work. There are times there are movies that I don't want to watch again and take notes on.
And we have to edit the podcast too and hear ourselves talking. Sometimes that's not so fun.
And there are times I don't even want to watch the film the first time. But all in all, I'd say it's been a great experience. These are movies that I'm going to want to watch anyway, just to say that I've seen them. So to have an outlet to talk about them like this is just a wonderful experience all around. So I'm also going to give it an A.
I was really glad that you came up with this idea to do the first American International Pictures podcast. We were surprised there wasn't one, but luckily for us, we got to fill that niche. And I just think they had a really great catalog of movies. So I think that we'll have fun this next year too.
So let's pour some champagne and have a toast for our 1-year anniversary. And as we always say, I'm Jeff Markin.
And I'm Cheryl Lightfoot.
And we'll meet you at the drive-in. Follow the American International Podcast on Instagram and Letterboxd at AIP_pod and on Facebook at facebook.com/American International Podcast.
The American International Podcast is produced and edited by Jeff Markin
A man whose mind is distorted by hatred.
and Cheryl Lightfoot.
A girl hungry for too many things.
The American International Podcast is part of the Pop Culture Entertainment Network.